how many of you, raise your hands, have already started a new business or are thinking about it? How many of you have started a business already? Okay, how many of you are thinking about it? Cool. What about the rest of you? What's going on? No.
Wells Fargo.
I'm kidding. That's right. So anyway, good afternoon. I am Siddhal Patel. I'm super excited to be here, and thank you for all coming here today. Today we're going to learn a lot about how to start your small business, how to enjoy what you do, and how to make money, right? Dollars and cents, that's what this panel is all about. And I want to, you started a small business, you love what you do, and you want to make money, right? That's like the bottom line, right? Apart from loving what you do. Couple of statistics I want to give you guys. Small businesses are one of the biggest drivers of the American economy, right? They make up more than 99% of all companies in the US. That's amazing, isn't it? So if you're a small business, you're a job creator. You're contributing to driving this economy, which is amazing, right? There are 28 small businesses in the US, and that generates more than half of the nation's private workforce. So that's something to be proud of, right? So if you're thinking about it, you're part of this, this is a big deal, and this is very exciting. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce the panel really quickly. To my left, we have Piali Aditya, founder of Mintbox. She's an advisor to fashion companies on their offline and digital strategies. Next to her is Cynthia Velopalil, although you have a new last name, you just got married, congrats. Founder of Helix, soon to be launched men's luxury grooming lifestyle brand. And then we also have Nancy Wong, which you met from Wells Fargo. And at the very end, we have Abbas Hashmi, CEO of Green Card Capital. You founded a company that assists high net worth individuals in getting U.S. green cards, among other things.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about that. So what I want to do is go ahead and get started with our first question. And I know, Nancy, you're going to tell us a lot about Wells Fargo and the new platform that you launched and kind of what guidance. I went on the website. If you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. There's a lot of interesting things you can get there and a lot of great resources. Talks about just very specific resources about how to different business life cycles, how to turn things around, guidance, technology, all that stuff, which we'll be talking about. But the first question I want to ask the panel is, we have a lot of people here at different stages in their small business, right? Whether it's starting out, whether you're running your business for a few years, and you want to get some traction. Can you talk about some of the challenges that you've experienced to get started financially? Right. So I don't know if
I can start. When I started my company, it was in 2009, and the biggest piece really for us wasn't the initial financing. So thankfully, my partner, he bootstrapped the company. But when you think of financing, we started thinking about, okay, so we started putting our own money in, and you guys probably save up a lot of money, and you think, should I put my own money into the company? Should I go out and get free money? And that means like brands and things like that are out there. You also think about, should I give up equity? And does that make sense? Or should I get loans? And those are all, really personal things that you guys have to answer for yourselves. So what we did was, we put a lot of our own money into the company originally. And then we went out and, oh, sorry. You can't hear me? Okay, sorry. So we first bootstrapped. We used our own money, and then what we did was we decided that at some point we believe in this a lot, but we need more money to put into the company than we had. So we did the rounds, and I know a lot of us have, and we sat with a lot of different VCs and angel investors. At the time, we didn't have things like crowdfunding, which is a big thing now, and kind of cool if that works for you guys.
do you want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, there's sites like, if you guys have heard of Kickstarter and Indiegogo, where you can go and put up a video or talk about really about you and your story as an entrepreneur, and people fund that. And it could be any different thing. But also there's the option, we didn't take this route, but there is the option to go and get a microfinance loan or a loan. I'm part of the Tory Burch Foundation. We provide microfinance loans to female entrepreneurs, and that's another route too. But for my own personal journey, we decided to go and raise money with VCs, and that's great, but we were a small company. You have to do a lot of your due diligence, because it takes out a lot of your time as well when you're supposed to operate your business, and when you're like 5 or 6 people, and most of your time is running around putting together presentations and spreadsheets and things like that, you're like, you also have to man your business and talk to your clients and do your actual work. So for us that was hard, but that's the route we took. We bootstrapped and went the VC route.
And Cynthia, you've gone out there and spoken to other angel investors. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
You know, it's funny. So you can get funding from angel investors, family offices, VCs. Some of the new incubators and accelerators will give you some money as well, so I applied to some of those. With angels, it could be a little tricky. I actually did get funding from one, but ended up backing out of the deal. He got busted for insider trading, tried to sue me for a lot more equity that I had than he had originally agreed on. From the get.
That brings up an issue of who you're talking to, right?
Yeah,
You know who you're
so
talking to.
for me, I thought, okay, I need to raise a minimum of $1.5 to $2 million to maximize my efforts. I think I'm better off speaking to family offices and VCs. And it's also about partnership, which we've heard a lot of today, optimizing the value of those relationships. So the best thing for me was to work with people, or to get money from people that could also contribute with relationships, further down the line, relationships with, other VCs, things like that. So that's why I decided to go that route. Kickstarter, the crowdfunding may or may not even be an option for you depending on what your business is. For me, it's not, because I have a beauty company. So creating physical product and things like that, that's why I needed to raise a lot more. And Kickstarter, the #1 crowdfunding site, bans personal care, food. They ban a lot of things. And a new trend with crowdfunding is people are using it for PR rather than actually raising money. People like, who was it? Spike Lee. Spike Lee really need that money? I don't think so. So that's one issue. It's more of a PR tool. And then the other issue is publicizing.
That could be a good tool as well, right? If it's a PR
Yeah,
tool,
it's a
and that's
PR
what you
tool.
need for your business at that moment, then that's what
If you're not a banned category.
Yeah.
And then the other issue with crowdfunding is you might have to expose your secret sauce of your business, all your strategy, and at the same time you might be, inspiring big corporations who are prowling around on those sites. In fact, I think on Kickstarter they are, I'd say, browse around our site look for inspiration. So that's another reason why I didn't want to do that. And yeah, I would say the most frustrating thing about fundraising is the sort of startup biases that are out there. I think VCs tend to have a preference for men, for people who come from certain schools like Stanford, for tech types, even when they're not doing tech. And the worst advice I've ever gotten, I think I mentioned this at the last CAWE, was be humble. A lot of us are from Asian families, and that is, what we've been ingrained with, be humble. That does not work at all when you're fundraising. In fact, you need to lead with your strongest foot. I've had this conversation with a lot of my friends, and one of my girlfriends, she runs an agency, and she won a Clio Award for one of the campaigns she did for Sky Vodka. Like, why isn't that front and center on your LinkedIn? It should be. You think Halle Berry's name is ever without Academy Award-winning actress in any movie write-up? No, it's always there. It's a big deal to get a Clio Award, or an Oscar Award, or a CEW Award. And if you get these things, lead with that. Make it known. Don't be shy about it. And bios. VCs don't like to read bios. You need to remind them constantly. So yeah, those sorts of things should be front and center. If you've won big awards, if you've already been in an industry, if you have great domain expertise. Just yesterday I was watching CNBC, and there's a female founder who started a divorce app for helping couples manage payments for taking care of children, piano lessons, car and stuff, so they don't have to talk to each other all the time. And this woman, I think this was like 40-something, had think 12 years of experience as a management consultant from a top firm. Good school, but she didn't go to Stanford, and she had a hard time getting funding. Never mind the fact that she's actually divorced, and these 22-year-old boys who dropped out of Stanford or whatever have never been divorced because they never got married, so they can't even relate to that kind of need for such an application. Anyway, fast forward, she's now, after a very hard time, gotten her funding and making the rounds on all the news channels, and it's a pretty cool story. But anyway, that's what I would have to say. Like, a lot of times it's timing, too. For me, I had to take a time out for about a year. I just restarted my process. If you have competitors, if people just don't understand the need, you know, sometimes when you go to meetings, the best way to pitch is to make a simple analogy. So I'm doing...
It sounds like you need a lot of confidence. Like, you should sell yourself, be confident, and when you're talking to people who are, you know, potentially funding you. Boss, I want to bring you into the conversation, the only male on the panel. Let's talk about, as a guy, you're talking to South Asian women business owners.
Yes.
What have you seen in your experience that South Asian women business owners need to do and aren't doing?
Sure. So I advise a number of family offices and startups. And they come from a number of different backgrounds, Middle Eastern, South Asian, European, Eastern European. So if you look at the culture, it is ingrained in us to be, as you already said, to be humble, to be respectful, to listen, don't ask questions, right? And venture capital space is not like that. You have to go out, you have to ask. A lot of people ask me, what is the single most important resource to start a company? And the first thing that comes in my mind, money. I want money, right? But really, like, if you are a small business, you're making cupcakes, you're providing services, you're an accountant who want to start up a unique CPA firm, say servicing artists, right? How much money do you need? So it all comes down to resources and like scanning your existing network and asking. Like, I'll give you my example. I started my Green Card Capital a year ago. And I really looked into my resources and I said, well, I don't have resources to start up an office in Pakistan, or 9 offices in India, or 3 offices in Dhaka, or 2 offices in Singapore. What should I do? So I had a friend who worked for a major audit firm here in New York, and I said, listen, if I can share the office space with you, rather than going to all these companies like Surf Corp and like Regis and all these companies, will you be interested? And he said, what is in it for me, right? And I said, well, my high net worth individuals will come to your office, will be exposed to your auditing services, and maybe you can advise their dad, their mom, to take your services. And if I'm visiting Pakistan, I can use your office. So, free. They said, free, use it for free, okay? It's just, whenever you're coming, just put your address on your business card, and if somebody calls, we'll pick up the phone and say, sure, Mr. Hashmi is traveling, but we can take the message, and the operator will send you an email. How simple is that, right? And I'm talking about a major audit firm. I'm not talking about some mom and pop store. So you have to reach out. You have to ask people. You have to see what you need. Money doesn't buy everything. So I was looking at Wells Fargo videos last night, and Jitin and Rima were kind enough to share those. And I was amazed. I was doing an audit because I really want to tell you, because before you go in and watch those videos, you need to see, like, what is Wells Fargo giving them? Like, the biggest portion from Wells Fargo is the advice. It's that coaching, the mentorship. Like, one person got a Mac, right? But he got cash flow analysis. He got understanding of branding, packaging, marketing, how to reach out to new market. Like, I was going through this dilemma of whether I should sell my product at a lower price point. Boom, it was there. No, don't do that. Like, increase yourself.
This is a perfect transition. Well, I'd love to bring in Nancy.
Yeah.
To talk about the new platform. And I was looking on the website as well, and it's like some great resources.
Wow, Abbas, thank you for coming onto our platform. You're such a great advocate for our new platform. I'm very impressed. I did not pay him to say that.
Sometimes you have these blind spots, and me as an entrepreneur, and I advise a number of other entrepreneurs, and I forget these things. So it's always nice to like go watch these videos and understand that oh yeah, I'm forgetting this very important rule.
Yeah, thank you, Abbas. So just to add to that, the reason why we have this platform, to Abbas's point, is because we wanted you to be able to access all the resources which comes to you for free, and just look at people that are small business owners that might have different challenges when they're working on expanding their business. And one of these 5 videos that Abbas is talking about is indeed actually a testament to our new Wells Fargo Works platform. When we launched the new platform, we also have announced a contest, which is a $25,000 for 5 of the business owners that enter into the contest by either one submitting up to a 2.5-minute video about their small business, what has been their aspiration to become a business owner, what has been some of the challenges, and what do they want to accomplish, right? So I know everybody is digital, everybody's on social these days, so for small business owners, we want you to actually enter in the contest to have the opportunity to experience what Wells Fargo Works platform can offer. And I think in terms of guidance, on top of just access to capital, what we wanted to really make it really clear is if you become one of these contestant winners, you would actually be team up with someone who is a small business specialist that is retained by Wells Fargo. This person would be someone who would be paired up to support you for your respective industry. So let's say if you are looking to let's say you're actually looking to expand your restaurant business. We would then pair with someone who's an expert in that particular field to help analyze your current business, to look into ways of how you might be able to, for example, brand your business, help you to get access to, let's say, a web designer to help you to design your brand online, stuff like that. And we have today, of course, the digital channel is for you to gather information, but of course, if you have questions on your small business, you can come to any of our store locations, right? You guys are based in New York or the tri-state area. Today, we actually have a few business specialists that are spending precious time with you all today to really make that connection, start that dialogue, being able to help you answer any question about your small business needs. And I wanted to point out my peers who are here to really connect with you all today. Margaret, are you here?
Hello, I'm Margaret Machine, I'm a business specialist from Wells Fargo.
Thank
If
you.
you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to help you.
Great. And Victoria?
Hi, I'm Victoria. Pleasure to be here and helping with your business specialist.
Right. And Bobby is actually, he manages a team of business bankers. So I understand that in the audience today there might be small business owners that might be starting or looking to expand. Keep his name in mind though, when you become big one day, we wanted to continue to work with a trusted source, and Bobby's team is actually expert in really helping businesses to grow and expand. And definitely, I think for things that Abbas was talking about, guidance in every stage of business, you need guidance. And we have different team members that specializes in different things. So I just wanted to have the opportunity to introduce our team. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. And on the platform, you have this guidance about different stages of the business cycle, a turnaround guidance,
Absolutely.
funding, all kinds of things. So.
Yeah, so different life, we call them different life stages. When you are a small business owner, you could be aspiring to start a business. And when you start a business, you have a lot of questions. And of course, the first thing you need to do is to just have a conversation with a banker right? Because you might not be getting financing at this point, but you still need to understand, what type of business are you starting? Are you starting a sole proprietorship? Are you starting a partnership, right? So when you're at different life stages of your business, you might be expanding. You might even at one point, like some of our panelists here, they have actually met some milestone. They've sold their business, right? And then they might be looking into starting another corporation. So at different stages, you would have opportunity to learn about what are some of the information that you need from our website. Thank you.
You know, we're talking a lot about resources and how, there's so many different resources out there. I want to ask Cynthia and Aditya, like, you can be out there looking for different, you can use different resources, but there are different times when you pay for resources. Can you talk about times when you've made a decision where it's worth paying for that resource and when it's not, right? Because it's all about, again, going back to money, like sometimes resources that you need to build your business cost a lot. And then you have to make that decision, and it's an important decision. I don't know if you have examples of that or even a boss.
You want to take it?
Well, actually, one of the things I was thinking about is, a lot of times we go to these VC meetings and sometimes you try to wonder if it's worth taking the meeting, and a lot of times it's like, okay, well, you should definitely do your due diligence, see who they invested in, and sometimes people tell you that it's not worth going to if they either have invested in a competitive company or if they invest in other industries. But I've actually been in a lot of meetings that you end up getting some really good advice. Ends up being free advice in some ways from smart people. So in some ways it's great. Like you go and you sit and you talk to a lot of people. I spoke to a lot of people, and you get like millions of dollars of free advice. So I would do that. I would take some of these meetings. But in terms of resources, I feel like there's so many things that you can do when you're looking at like cost savings. I did things the wrong way. We had a CTO his point of view was, let's build a lot of this stuff. And my point of view was always, well, what's out there that we can actually either buy or just lease, rent, whatever that is. And today, if I was starting a small company, depending on the technology you need, there's a lot of resources out there. I mean, what's that, Shopify? You can go on and create your own website. There's so many things out there.
And then you have incubators. I mean, these are shared resources.
Sure.
You can go there, and that's a great place to be for an entrepreneur. There's so much inspiration there. You have probably somebody who's a graphic designer, and then somebody who's a guru in coding. They can all help each other.
Yeah.
So it depends. No, go ahead.
I would say one of the best resources that I've used personally as a means for branding myself for fundraising is social media. It's free, totally free. All those English classes that you took finally pay off. I did not write like anything that wasn't assigned for the longest time, papers, projects. And then all of a sudden, one fine day, I was just so annoyed with my fundraising situation and the startup scene. It was comical, some of the things that were getting funded at the valuations they were getting, like raw algorithms, which are so ridiculous and don't work. That company has now pivoted.
You did something very creative.
So I wrote an article titled "VCs Think My Boobs Need an Algorithm." And I wrote it for a very small blog, and it went viral. It was trending on Hacker News, which is the Silicon Alley blog thing for Y Combinator. Then got picked up by several others, and then I thought, wait a second. People
Did
like
it get picked up by Huffington Post, I think?
the next
Yahoo?
one did, yeah.
The next
So
one, yeah.
then I realized, wait a second, I have people listening to me. This is my opportunity, because you need a forum, you need friends. You cannot succeed without that sort of support. And the easiest way is social media. Gary Vaynerchuk is a great example of that. He took his dad's liquor store from, I think, 4 million to 40 million in about 2 years. And now it's at like 100 million. It's insane. And since then, he realized, oh, wait a second, I'm pretty good at social media. So he started 2 digital agencies. Now he has a fund. But you see, it starts somewhere. And for me, it was about realizing, okay, how can I compete? Well, I get copywriting. So I wrote these crazy, titles for my articles, and I used that as a medium. And at the bottom of the articles, they have your bio, so people started taking note. Then, during my time out, I started teaching. Teaching doesn't pay well, as a professor, but you know what? It brands me, as a marketer and as a founder. So you do whatever, there's so many things you can do. My husband is a VC, and he's currently fundraising for his fund. And I strategically dress him every time he has a big meeting, I'm not joking, with statement pieces, like cowboy boots. I prep him on the news. Like, there's so many things you can do to get attention. When I would not invest much going into, big conferences, unless you know that you're going to learn or actually going to meet people. And by the end of that conference, you better have learned something or met, a couple people on panels or whatever, keynote speakers. Otherwise, it's a waste of your time. And I always do that when I think about registering for something. It's also about giving back. People have said that. The more you help other entrepreneurs, like I know a lot of angel investors and VCs who invest in things like energy or cloud. Do I need that for myself? No, but I will totally hook you up if I believe in you, And it's about that, sharing resources. What else? Being very, very creative, in terms of jokes. Just, people don't always like to talk business, and it's sometimes connecting with the VC or the investor is about creating an emotional bond, a friendship, not being arrogant. So it's about that, taking that time to know them as a person. I'm not about putting money in, per se, it's more about the relationships and the social media. I will say this, though, there are some opportunities that might fall in your lap that will cost money. My husband, for example, got the opportunity to go meet Richard Branson for a week in Verbier. That whole trip was $12,000, and he called me up. He was like, "Hey, should we do this?" Mind you, we just spent a lot of money on a wedding and stuff like that. I was like, "Are you kidding me? 12 people, Richard Branson's one of them? Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer." So as a result, the results of that sort of opportunity don't happen tomorrow. They're playing out, since that trip ended, but it's that kind of thing. Gauge the opportunity. Is it a lifetime opportunity? Do you really have a real chance of engaging that person in a 12-person setting? Absolutely. Similarly, if you're invited to a cool dinner and there's only, 10 people, that's a better opportunity than paying $300 for a conference when there are 500 people there, right? So it's about all of that.
What I love is that you took a situation where you were frustrated and you did something about it, right? You expressed yourself, you got some attention, and were able to get some traction. And that was a very clever way of meeting more people, getting more exposure. Abbas, I want to ask you, you had touched on this about, the different ways that you can make money, what's the right way to make money, the different options out there. I think you touched on it last week.
Sure. So starting up, when we started this discussion, a number of attendees at the show of hands said that they want to start a business, right? So where do you start the business first, right? Because we always start up with let's raise money again and again. I bring this topic because it just makes me uncomfortable. Yes, money is there, and as you said, that yes, you have social media. So there's so many free tools out there. Social media is getting expensive day by day. So this is the right time for you to get in. When I say expensive, means there were days when you will share something and all of your 300 friends will see it. Now only 4% or 3% of your friends see that post, right? So you have to pay to promote that.
And when we talk about social media, we're talking about Twitter, Facebook,
Yes.
Instagram, all of it, right?
Exactly. So first we have to understand what you're offering. So this is the day 0, you say, I want to start a business. Think about it. Think what you want to do. Then write it on a piece of paper, right? One page. Then start making a presentation to yourself and friends and family. And then start growing the orbit, okay? This is how you go about it. And then in the process, you will understand how much money you really need, and do you really need the marketing manager? Do you really need vice president operations? Or your banker can help you out with that, right? Or your friend with an accountant can help you out with that. So start like growing your orbit on social media, but first, for God's sake, write it down. Write it down on a piece of paper, make a business plan, and take help from other people. And as a lot of people say that, well, then what? Once I have a presentation, then what should I do? Well, then you do some research. Again, outside of friend and family circle, you have social media, you have Twitter, you have LinkedIn, which is a great resource to brand yourself. Everyone is unique. I'm 100% sure out of all of you must have done something very interesting. Okay, mention that. Mention that on your LinkedIn profile. Connect with people. Invest where it makes value. Invest in LinkedIn premium accounts, for example. Reach out to people, send emails, right? So the money aspect, what is the right way of making money? It's a very, very personal question. You will find an uncle who will probably like bankroll you, will give you the money and say, fine, I'm happy the way, I'm happy that you're back on track. I'm happy that you're doing something very meaningful, right? Not a lot of people are familiar with venture capital and private equity space. Maybe you have a cousin who's working for a bank. He will look at the presentation and help you out. Then there's another thing that I've asked a lot. This collaborative. So do you have like a friend who's also doing something, and he's successful, she's very successful. Like you see her, you said 6 months ago she did this thing and now she's a billionaire, right? and for me to leave a job, right? And not get that $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, or $10,000 or $20,000 a month, it's very uncomfortable, right? Because your expenses are at a certain level, right? And you have this comfortable lifestyle. But then, my friends, I mean, if you don't take risk, there is no reward. I mean, we all go to all these theme parks, right? For a reason. We enjoy it, right? So believe me, being an entrepreneur is a joyride. You enjoy it. It's not comfortable. You're not going to get your first client within like 30 days of your operation and say, yes, see, I was getting $10,000 a month, now I'm making $30,000 a month. This is what it is. No, it's not. Like 6 months, probably 2 years, right? You'll continue learning. You'll be teaching yourself, right? And then one day you'll get your first client, and then you say, it's worth it. I did it, right? So it will take some time. It takes perseverance. It will take a lot of disappointment, but you will do it. I'm telling you, you will do it. If you have good friends, if you have good mentorship, and you have a great idea. When I say great idea, there's one last thing. This is another thing, right? A lot of people, what is a great idea? What's the next big thing like Facebook? I want to do Facebook, right? Come on, like look at Facebook. Look, like I was not.
Every day.
Yeah, it was a big idea. Like you don't have to invent a wheel to have a big idea, right? You understand the gap in the existing technology. Like look at the existing ecosystem. You talk to your friends and family. Say, what is the gap that I can fill? And do I have the resources or the energy and the knowledge to fill that gap, right? Do a gap analysis. You'll find so many different gaps in the economy that you can fill up without spending a lot of money, but nobody's just thinking about it, right?
Talking of, thank you, Ross, that was great. Talking of resources, Nancy, can you talk a little bit about kind of the resources Wells Fargo has to expand the small business?
Well, instead of, I do wanted to actually give an example because this is very inspiring. I have to share an example of one of the videos that I actually saw on the Wells Fargo Works platform. Abbas was talking about a gap. And as a small business owner, you actually start a business because there's something that you believe in. You're really feeling a gap. So one of these small business owners that were featured in videos is actually a mom. She has to pack her kids' lunch every day, and because the lunch box is really just one big compartment without different compartments. She actually designed, she worked with a design firm to help her to design this lunchbox that has different compartments. And that became her business. And it really speaks to the fact that she is living it every day, and she sees that there's a need for her to be able to give vegetables and some meat and some other things to her kids every day when she sends them off to school. And that's really filling that gap. And I want to encourage you guys to actually go, and I'm very passionate about speaking about this because it's a true story. And it's really based on what you really feel passionate about. Rima started this organization because she's very passionate about helping small business owners and helping aspiring women. And of course our panelists all here are filling a gap, right? They're all really believing in a particular cause, and that's why they do what they do.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. So, and what I wanted to ask next is, like, obviously each of you have a very different story, and I think Abbas touched upon this. We haven't talked about this, like being South Asian, right, and not being a doctor or an engineer or maybe an accountant. Let's talk about some of the cultural stuff that happens in your family. Like, how was it? Just talk about that experience when you're approaching your friends and family for funding, possibly. For asking an uncle, but whatever it is.
I think that, well, I agree with us, you should write it down. But I actually would never ask anyone in my family for money because you're gonna have to see them often, and they're gonna be all of a sudden your shareholder, and they're gonna ask you questions, and they're gonna say, well, that $10,000 that I gave you, now is that worth $1 billion today? You have that Facebook idea? I mean, so for me, I would never do that, but everyone has their own kind of personal journey, and I think you have to be the heroine of your own story, right? And figure out what's right for you, and for me, that wouldn't be it.
It would be an option.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to talk about
Oh,
that?
and being South Asian, I think for me it wasn't, or being a woman, I guess I was lucky. I chose 2 industries. I chose one that is fashion, and there are a lot of women in fashion. And then I chose tech, and there are a lot of Indians in tech. So I don't know. I mean, if you're not down with brown, you can't be in this industry.
I'll say, for my startup, can you hear me? For my startup, I have a cause. Ultimately, a startup really makes it if you make an impact in some way and you're doing something different. You need a point of difference. So, I have the brand part with products, but I have costs for Helix, which is called Balsa Work. And initially, whenever I bring that up in meetings, people start laughing. They don't really understand what it is. Well, it is a cause that's basically the men's version of Pink Ribbon. And I don't know if a lot of you guys know this, but prostate cancer disproportionately affects Desi men, African American men, and Jewish men. And it can affect guys as young as 40. Milken had it at 40, stage 4, when he was diagnosed with it. And the problem with late diagnoses is, it affects relationships. These men can't have children, they might not be able to urinate in a normal fashion, blah, blah, blah. My dad had it, and he was diagnosed with it about 12 years ago. And most people are like, oh, well, if you're that old, a man gets it, he'll probably die of natural causes anyway. 7 years later. Well, 14 years later, he's still around, and he's great. And I just saw an opportunity there as a Desi woman to create an impact. Evelyn Lauder was the founder of Pink Ribbon. Before her, it was taboo to talk about boobs and breast cancer openly. And because of her, in schools during junior high, during health, elementary school and junior high, girls are taught feel your breasts once a month, look for lumps. There's nothing like that for men, for testicular cancer or prostate cancer. Testicular cancer affects boys as young as 17. So, and that's broad disease, all kinds of men. But the other one is, disproportionately affects Jewish, Indian, and African American men. So I saw an opportunity as a Desi woman to address this. And for me, it's an authentic story, and yeah, impactful, and I could not resist. I mean, it just bothers me that there's nothing out there that speaks to that. And I think it's something that adds, what's the word? Yeah, it's social impact for my brand.
For my part, see, being a South Asian and constantly interacting with South Asian families and friends, I want to second Piale on like the follow-up that happens from the family. Once you take that money, then they will follow up, right? And that's a very typical business model in our families, because if you're a doctor, you make money, right? You study hard, you make money, right? You don't study hard and like struggle for 4 years and ask for money. Like, what is this, right? It doesn't make any sense. So logically, it doesn't sit well in South Asian families to be an entrepreneur and an MBA and asking for more money, right? So yes, so that's a challenge that being a South Asian we face. But then again, that's the way it is. And again, I mean, I just want to touch on the same topic again. Like, it's you need to know when to let go of your idea, but before that, you have to give 101%. Give it all. Like you may lose all, you may spend all, but you need to like, and that's where write it down and presentation and do some research comes into play. But and that's like universal. You don't have to be a South Asian to do that. Like, it's for everyone. Okay. So that's my thing, and thank you for starting the prostate cancer initiative. My father, I lost my father in September, a South Asian, 60-year-old. He was okay. He was perfect. He worked out, way more active than I am, and when he was 60 and he got diagnosed with late-stage prostate cancer, I was told that, oh come on, he's old now, he will have that. Like that's normal. And I lost him after 6 months. And I wish if being a South Asian we had some sort of knowledge-based resource or initiative like yours, where he would have reached out to me and said, I'm having problems, I should go, because there's certain social taboos that are still prevalent in South Asian families. So thank you so much, personally.
I think that a lesson here, the theme that I'm hearing is that you have to be really passionate about your idea, right? You're filling a gap, you found something, you want to solve a problem, right? Solve something that you feel like is missing and that people need to know about, and that's a huge theme I'm hearing. What I want to move on to now, oh sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I do wanted to add a perspective as a banker. So basically, I do not work with customers on a daily basis. However, I do hear a lot in the community that, especially within the Asian community, when you start a small business, you kind of do not set up your separate business entity. You just do it all, everything combined in your personal account. And I've seen so many cases where when the business actually starts to grow, you actually don't have a record of how successful your business might have been because you have chosen the path to not separate your business matters from your personal financial matters. So this has actually come back to haunt the Asian community sometimes because of the fact that you don't separate it. So from a bank's perspective, there's no history. So it is very difficult as a responsible lender to loan money to small business that cannot prove that they have a track record. So my guidance, my 2 cents really to the small business aspiring owners, definitely, even however small your business is, separated. Separate your small business account from your consumer account, because you don't know one day your business is going to grow and you would want it to expand and you would want to get some financing, maybe not from your friends and family, maybe from a financial institution. Then you need that track record.
You don't want to miss that opportunity, right?
Exactly.
Right. But that's an excellent point, because, and that speaks to like just keeping things separate, right? It's your business is your business, and your personal stuff is your personal stuff. Just like, not going to family for funding, etc. That's a big message I'm hearing. I want to just move on to just like the practicality, day-to-day stuff. How do you run your business efficiently? I would love to hear from you guys about kind of what is like the top, like what do you do like each day that you do that's a habit you always do to make sure your business is running or the way you want it to? Or is there like a website that you check every day, a couple of websites? is there 3 or 4 things that you always do every day to make your business successful? Anyone?
So I travel a lot, and I remember, so I travel to Asia a lot, so it's 14, 15 hours flight, and I remember when I started traveling, and I said, wow, that's amazing, I can watch all the movies, right? So, so now, over the last 1 year, I realized that I'm not learning new things. Watching movies is one thing, yes, but like I'm not learning new things. So now what I do is I go into documentary channels, and I watch self-help videos. I buy a book and I read it on the flight. And this is what really is. I mean, you, as an entrepreneur, believe me, you have to challenge your own ego every single day. Every single day, somebody will come up to you and say, boss, or sir, or boss, this is not working out. And either you convince him that this is going to work out the way you think, or you accept that you were wrong, okay? And it's the thing, be a man and say, I'm sorry, like I wasted all of your time. But you have to challenge yourself every single day. It's not like a job where you go in the line, so nothing against people working, like you're a banker, but I was a banker once as well. But when you work in a job, you have like an appraisal system. That happens like in a very good company, that appraisal happens quarterly. Amazing company. Every 3 months, your boss will call you in and say, you're not doing this right, I think we should do it right, like this, right? But when you're an entrepreneur, it's an hourly thing. You do something, you realize, I don't have to post this. No. Delete it, repost it, okay? Or, I don't like the graphic design of this ad. Let me just change it one more time, because you're satisfying your own self. And you perfect that. Every single day, you grow that confidence to stand up and defend your ideas. And you say, I know how it is done, and this is how I'm going to do it. Okay? And be prepared to face the music as well. If you lose, it's okay. I mean, you start all over again. It's not a comfortable position, and that's a day-to-day job. Questioning your actions, recommending, prescribing your own self, and then correcting the course on a daily basis. And once you grow, you have people who believe in your passion and your dreams. You're responsible for that. Okay? You have to convey that message. You have to sit down with them and tell them that this is what I believe in, and believe me, it's going to be wonderful. And they will believe you. But you have to convince yourself on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think your boss is right. You have to always be learning, and I do that all the time. You can't think that you know everything that's going on in your industry. So every day I read WWD, which is the industry publication for the fashion and beauty industries as well. I also read TechCrunch and Mashable and all these others that, I get the emails every day. Even today, I found out about a competitor in an area that I'm looking at, and I don't necessarily see them as a competitor, but I look at new business models and I look at what they're doing and how we can adapt it, or if we should adapt it to what we're looking to do next. So I think constantly evolving and constantly learning is important.
I would say the same thing, learning every day. I do the same, spend at least an hour reading industry news, keeping up with my competitors, just noticing what their new product launches are, what their new campaigns are, or not. Many of them are not actually doing anything. So it's that, but at the same time, being an entrepreneur, being a founder who, in the middle of fundraising with a very small team can be a very lonely, frustrating journey. And you might be going up against big corporate giants like L'Oreal or Ralph Lauren or, startups with $10 million instead of your $2 million. And you have to keep yourself inspired. For that, I think every day, or at least, a couple times a week, I have my inspiration doses. That might be a book, like Gary Vaynerchuk, amazing book, by the way, crush it. his first entrepreneurial book, a book, a movie, like Rocky, and things like, and then obviously a support network of fellow founders, because no one will understand you like they do. Like my family, they're all doctors. They don't get it. My mom thinks I'm insane. One Christmas, she thought that I was crazy because she was like, you keep going to these meetings. What's happening? You don't have money yet? Like, I don't understand. So it's that will keep you sane. And you need to have your downtime and your friends to keep you sane. And if you don't have some fellow entrepreneurs in that circle, then it's hard.
Yeah, that actually brings up an excellent point, like mentorship, networking, having a support group. I don't know if you guys like the long-standing groups, or if you can talk about how you've developed your support group in the community. Like for myself, I know if I go to an industry event, I go with some goals in mind. I'm going to try to meet 3 people that can help me at work, or I have a community of other journalists I can talk to, call them up and say, can you believe my editor told me to do this? Things like that. I would love for you guys to talk about that sort of it.
Well, I had lunch with Kelly a couple weeks ago, and she was telling me about an idea for her next startup, and I was like, just go for it. You've already established yourself as a founder,
And
you
has
went to
been
Harvard.
emailing me since.
And, so that's also, the support network will push you. And when you hear about things, we're like little birdies. Hey, guess what? Heard about this competitor. Hop on this. Read this article. So, we do that all the time.
And I'm sure there's a lot of women here that you guys can connect with that can, be part of your support group, because you guys are all going through something similar, right? Starting up, doing your own business. I don't know, Boss, if you wanted to add to.
Yeah, I have something to say here. As a South Asian, there's another aspect of networking. Don't tell your friends. Don't tell what books you're reading. Don't tell how much study you do at home, because you have to outperform. You have to be the #1 in the class, right? Don't share your tactics, right? So, and I don't know if you all understand Hindi, nazar lag jati hai, right? Right? You don't share because you will get evil eye. Okay? So, what happened is that this develops when you grow up and you have friends and peers. You stop telling them your ideas. You stop sharing. You think if I tell my idea of green card capital, maybe the PR specialist of Jingle Media, Mr. Jitin, will come up with blue card capital, okay, and beat me. Okay? Seriously, he doesn't want to do that. Maybe. I never know. Okay.
I want to do your PR.
So please share, be brave, and they will, look at this room. Like, how many people are entrepreneurs? There are not many people who are entrepreneurs. People who are entrepreneurs have a passion, and there is a cause, and there is a reason why they're an entrepreneur. They're not an entrepreneur because, let's be an entrepreneur, right? Like, I'm not doing anything else, let's be an entrepreneur. Let's be miserable, right? So, yeah, so you really need to go out and talk to your friends and peers, and you say, this is an idea, what do you think about it, right? Would you like to give me input? What do you think about it? Believe me, like out of 100 cases, I've seen only one case where my friend said, oh, I want to do immigration too. And I said, okay, you can do some other country. And he said, yeah, I can use your brand. I said, yeah, you can be like a small profit center and you run that. And he said, thank you. And I said, you're welcome. Right? So there's one person, believe me, hundreds of friends and family, one person who got so inspired, he said, I want to be like you. But no, you will not inspire with your ideas that somebody will leave his idea if he's an entrepreneur, if he's making some great nuclear reactor, and say, no, I'm going to do your social media. I love that. Because I have invested so much time in my thing, that's crap. I want to do this.
I think you're so right, because culturally we're so taught or learned to talk about things.
Be modest.
Yeah, we're taught, especially women, South Asian, all these cultural things, we're taught to be modest, right? not necessarily push ourselves and
Yeah.
talk and brag about, what we're doing. And I think a lot of times when you share information, you'll be surprised at the reaction, right? I'm sure when you shared, told somebody, oh, I'm thinking about doing this, you've probably got more support than you expected. Right? I want to ask one more question, and then I'm going to open it up to Q&A. But one question I would love to ask is, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
I will start it earlier. I will not work. I will work for about a year, and then I will be in a miserable state when I can be, not married, not have a child, right out of school, and then we'll start building up from there. I love being an entrepreneur. I see those dreams, I see those passionate eyes, and they believe in that, and they're so receptive. I want to do it. I want to do it again and again.
I think what I learned is, as cheesy as it sounds, you have to choose your partners wisely. And, you're in such a rush you have this great idea and you're like, okay, I've got an A idea. Well, if I have a B team, it's okay because the idea is so great. And if I did it over again, I think I would wait a little longer and vet people a little longer. I think once you learn that someone that either you bring on board or you partner with is not the right one, you cut it quickly and then you move on.
If I had to do it over again, I would have started fundraising sooner. What I did know is, if you have a really, really strong case as a founder for what you're doing, in the form of domain expertise or as a prior founder, successful founder with corporate experience or business school, graduate school, then you have a higher chance of success. And I think a lot of these investors recognize that. And if you wait too long, it can get tricky because in my case there were 3 other startups competing with the same early stage VCs that I was talking to. They were all guys, all on the West Coast. Made it very tricky for me. And back to the last question, I want to say this because I think it's kind of important. In terms of sharing your information, one trick that I do is there's a widget called Signals you can install on your Gmail, and you can also sync your work email with that. You can tell when someone opens a link, you get notified, or opens your email and then opens your link to your deck. Number 1. Number 2, I would put a watermark on everything. Take the time to make every document a PDF because you don't want people copying and pasting it. And people are less likely to be, snaky about sharing your stuff if there's a watermark with their name or the company's name on it. It might take 5 to 10 minutes to do it, but I think it's totally worthwhile. You don't want your secret sauce, your designs, your designer floating around. I mean that's dangerous. And I think at the end of the day, it's about investing in yourself. If you don't take your business seriously enough to do that, people won't take you seriously.
Are you talking about copyrights or?
No, watermarks are things, on a document on every single page, saying, confidential, only for Jingo Media or whatever company it is you're talking to.
So with that, I want to open it up to questions. I would love to see, if our panel would love to answer any questions you guys have. Okay. Go ahead.
Hello. So I have a question, and I spoke to Kelly about this once, and one of the things I'm here for is to literally get the cojones to actually do something, because I have these ideas and I get passionate and excited, and then I go, oh my god, I have a job, I'm insane. What am I doing? So for all of you, what was that moment where it was no turning back, this is what I needed to do, and sort of talk yourself out of all of the other things that you have in your life that seem more important than this? Good question.
For me, I spent a lot of time at big companies like L'Oreal and then L Brands, Victoria's Secret Beauty. Then I decided, you know what, I want to go somewhere where I can do something new. So I went to this company called Zurich, which was run like a startup. There were only 5 of us, and while I was there, I did a lot of. I also took the job because I knew as a smaller, since it was run like a smaller company, I would get to do a lot more. improve myself and actually get credit instead of my boss taking credit for my work. And it was a cool experience, did a lot there, started copywriting, marketing, product development, things that I would never get to do at a big company like L'Oreal. Because at big companies, you know, it's so streamlined. One person will work on like eyeliner. The next person will work on, you know, mascara. The next person will work on pencil eyeliner. No joke, it's that narrow of a job. So that's why I did it, the opportunity. And then when I realized, hey, I'd already been validated, I got these product awards, we launched globally, blah, blah. Then the company was acquired, and I found myself looking for a new job. And I thought, well, why do I want to do that? Like, I'm going to be another, you know, cog in the wheel. Like, I wanted to own it, you know? I saw my boss do it, the owner of Zura at the time. And we had an exit to P&G, got all these awards, so I thought, why can't I do it? I've already validated myself. So, and my partner, I worked with him. He had the same feeling at that time, and that's how we did it. It was scary, but it's like a drug. Like once you cross to that zone, it is so hard to go back. Like I don't think I could ever go back to a big company like L'Oreal.
Okay.
Can I say something
Sure.
else? I didn't have an aha moment, but like Cynthia, I think I was in a company, I was working for Donna Karen, she had a nonprofit called the Urban Zen Foundation. And it was very entrepreneurial. I wasn't working on the foundation, I was working with her to commercialize the concept. But there wasn't an aha moment, I think I slowly went into it. But now, as I think about what's next for me, I think that I also can't go back to working in a big matrix organization, but you could be entrepreneurial in a large organization. And that's something I'm looking at today as well. Like, could you, and this is something I'm thinking about, could you create a division within a large organization and be entrepreneurial within that? I think the answer is yes. That's what I'm toying with today.
Okay, so
That's true.
did you switch off my mic? Did this? No.
No.
Okay, so you want like straight on your face, answer. Where are you working right now? Let's call it like company A. Is it company A or is it company D? Like in your sequence of events in your professional life. Like it's the fourth company you're working for?
Something like that.
Something like that, right? So how did you get the fourth company from third to fourth? You were obviously networking, right? You were obviously looking for the job while staying on the job, right? So do the same thing for entrepreneurship. Stay on the job, stay committed to the job, and I'm saying that in order to like stay on the safe side with your employer, current employer. Stay on the job, stay committed. But at the same time, start working on your entrepreneurship idea. Start talking to people. Who's stopping you? Like who will call your HR and say, I heard her. She was saying she's going to start this amazing business, and this is the idea. This is the presentation. Okay? Like what are the odds? Okay? I mean, if you're not like talking to your peers and your colleagues in the office, right? So stay on the job, look for the opportunity of entrepreneurship, not another job, and then start it. And you will get the reward once you start it. Once you stop worrying about, if I text my boss, why hasn't he responded back? What's happening? Let him respond back now. Let me just give him a good news. Oh, I closed a client. Like a vague good news. We all do that, right? When we have a boss, we want him to be happy, right? We want feedback. Believe me, this is the first thing that ended in my life because I used to send text messages to my boss while I'm in China, while I'm in India. I'll send him, I say, oh, are you okay? Hope all is well. No response. This guy must be with his family, right? And then I wrote, I met this really good client and I'm very close to like getting him in our business. I get a response that's, okay, well done. And I'm happy, now I can sleep. This will end. You'll stop looking for that text message. You'll stop looking for that response from your superior, okay? So that's the first thing that will come in, okay? You stop pleasing other people. That's the first thing that will come in. Once you stop working for other people, okay?
But you're already doing the right thing, right? Because you have this idea, you're talking to people about it, we talked about it. Now you just have to decide for yourself whether you're in the right state financially, whether you're in the right state personally, if you can take that leap. But I think you're taking the right steps.
Other questions? Who else has a question?
Hi, I just was hoping that all of you have talked a little bit about vetting your investors and angel investors and vetting your partners and the people that you go into business with. Do you have any practical advice for this audience around how do you do that? Like, I think that any new relationship can be exciting, and sometimes there'll be on the surface everything will be perfect. That perhaps through your vetting process it's not as a perfect match as you would like. So I'm curious, what steps do you all take to understand that maybe another individual investor or VC or whoever is the right match for you? What's your vetting process look like?
I would say, why do they want to invest in you? Like, what is their gain? Do they love the category? Do they understand the business? For some people, it might be just a pure vanity play, to be cool. If you have, a sexy business. For some people, it's a friendship. I think it varies from person to person. Personally, I only want to talk to and engage VCs that can add to my company in some way. Strategically, people who understand and love consumer. Some people hate consumer. I don't want that person. Also, people who think outside of the box. I actually turned away money from people who are too, stubborn about like what they. One investor told me, oh, well, I want you to change the design. Everything should be unlabeled and look like heels, or mochi, that one Japanese. And I was like, well, that's not at all. I mean, then it's not the brand at all. So no, I can't do that. So it's that, like having that sort of common understanding, common passion with your investors.
I think whether it's an investor or a partner, for me it's like dating, right? You have to date them for a little bit, get to know them really, really well, and get to know their beliefs. Like, if you care about religion, you get to know religion. Like, do they want to have kids? If we decide if I get a job in Abu Dhabi, will you move for me? Things like that, It is like dating. And I think that for us, at least, our industries are small. They're quite transparent in some ways. So if you're looking for VCs, you can find out a lot about them. We use a lot of our networks. We talk a lot to other entrepreneurs who maybe have met with these guys or gals and get their opinion. So I don't know, I'm a big believer of reaching out a lot to people and asking people for advice. I've really asked a lot of people for advice. So I would do that.
And then there are structural ways to keep, you can't do that with VCs because they're, I hate to say that, but they're more smarter than a startup entrepreneur, right? Because they see they see these transactions a lot, right? And they see the process, they see the entrepreneurship and investment process as a process, not as a passion, right? So I take it back, okay? They're more passionate. We are more passionate and they're more process driven, right? So your great idea is just one more idea on the conveyor belt that they're going to do their operation and then give you their response, right? So if you're reaching out to VC, that's a different strategy, but if you're reaching out to, say, family office or a friend or somebody who you know from high school, now he's investing, right? Could be, first of all, there may be different ways or forms how to bring him in. You don't have to necessarily bring him on the board. Don't necessarily take an equity. He can give you debt. He can give you a convertible debt. 5 years from now, he can become an equity player, or you can just pay him back, right? Then somebody asked about reasons. Why do people invest in you? So it could be various reasons. Somebody just, as you said, could be just vanity reason. Could be an extension of an existing brand. Sometimes it's not so nice. I mean, they think that if you grow a lot, you will be a competition for me, so they will buy you out, or they will hold you there. And that happens a lot as well. So they will give you money so that you stay parked there, okay? Because they sit on your board and they won't let you do this, what you were doing, and then they will do this, finish this, and then they will come to you, right? So there are different plays, and as Pyale said, it's like dating, it's like any other human relationship, because businesses don't talk to businesses don't invest in businesses, people invest in people. Okay?
I want to add to Pyale's comment about dating. Pitching to investors is very much like dating. You should never give it all up without an understanding of what's going on and what that investor is going to give you and how interested and serious they are in you. I would always start with, over email, I only share so much, an executive summary and a condensed pitch deck, always in PDF form using that Signals app so I know where it's going, and with the watermarks. And if they want anything else, they have to meet me, and unless they're in London or something like that. And after the full pitch deck, if they want to see more, then I want to know, hey, what are you interested in? Do you want to lead my round? How big can your check be? Do you have any competing investments? And you can't be scared to ask these questions. Information is a prized commodity. A lot of investors want to meet with people that they have that they might not invest in because of it's deal flow, it's information. That's a hot commodity at the end of the day. And they want to know what's going on. They want to know what the trends are. They might want to learn, okay, even though it's a t-shirt company online, how the hell did they scale that business? Was it Curebit? Was it Olaplex? What the hell are these people using? What's their secret sauce? And let me go take that over here to the makeup company. Yeah, information is a very, very hot commodity. So never ever tell everybody everything without a clear understanding of what's going on and why you're even sitting with that person, emailing that person in the first place. If they don't have the courtesy of phone calls and meetings in person, you never email all that information.